Hello and welcome to another episode of Frogs Hollow TV. My name's Toby Cooper and tonight I'd like to introduce a new co-host to the panel, Warrior's very own Geordie Batchelor. How are you, Geord?
Yeah, good, thanks, Toby. Yourself, mate?
Good, mate. Good to have you beside me.
Yeah.
Now, most off-road people know the Batchelor name. Your dad's been around for a while now in the Warrior in New South Wales and the national scene. But tell those at home a little about yourself and your history in the off-road world.
Yeah, well, I've pretty well been around it since I was born. I think I was born in 93 and Dave, Mendham and Dad won Warrior in 93.
Yep.
Our boy was nabbing for him. Always went away with Dad and the Rose clan wherever they went and followed them everywhere, been to Finke and Gundy a few times and all that sort of stuff. And that car that Dad's got now, we built it from the ground up. So done a full build with that with him. And I think 2007 started navigating for him.
Yep.
I was only 14. I think I'd done that until, I think 2012. And then I bought that old red ute off Mark Bowman. Done a few years in her and had a lot of fun in that old red ute.
Yeah.
And then, I think I raced that buggy in 2015 and stepped away for a while. Now I've got another car and
You're back into it.
Back into it, mate, yeah.
Here we are on the desk.
Yeah.
But Geord works away, so the plan is just to have him co-host as much as you can be at home. So it's good to have you on board, mate, and move forward for the rest of the season. We've got plenty of races coming up. Again, I'd like to say a huge thank you to all our incredible partners who are displayed on the screens during the show, along with our contributors for their support across 2025. It's overwhelming the people behind us making this all possible. And I mentioned with Derek when he was on the show, George, just the amount of support from contributors, like that. Literally at the end of the races now, they're just sending in footage to put on the show. Plenty of partners that are just jumping on board just to sort of make it possible. There's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes to get these episodes off the ground, but that's what it's all about. Off-roaders, sort of getting behind off-roaders and making shows like this possible. Quick shout out also to the recent Milberdale and Port Germain champions, Zach Marsh, Glen Ackroyd, Evan Lampard, who won their recent state rounds. With more from all those races on next week's episode. Now, straight into the 2025 Finke Desert Race, round 2 of the ORC for 2025. 102 starters and 56 finishes. By reports, arguably one of the roughest Finkes in recent memory. And it was emotional scenes Monday morning as OBR crossed for a 1-2 finish. What was your take on Finke 2025, George?
Mate, I reckon Robbo and the crew have done an unreal job there to get across the line. 1 and 2. Like, it's hard enough to try and get one car across the finish line, let alone 1 and 2. Like, you can't get any better than that, mate. But I watched a fair bit of it. I'll tell you what, geez, that Boston Morgan the one, geez, he can steer that thing too, mate.
I know.
He, I'll tell you what, if he didn't do that tyre, I reckon he would have went close. I reckon he would have went real close.
I think his times, I think Travis was still a little bit ahead, but he was definitely on time for Bo heading down.
Yeah.
And then he was just talking to actually Darren Wells before doing an interview for this episode, and he was de-laminated because I didn't realise until just then that the spare tyre actually left the truck on the way down, and then we got out to change it, and Fergus, his navigator, has gone, Boston, we got no tyre. He said, well, jump back in, let's go. So that's, and I just rewatched it before you came, and you could see it's de-laminated and he's crossed there. I mean, he was still, I think, 4th quickest down there, which is extraordinary.
He's out of control.
So Loveday next for Boston, and I think we won the race last year from, I think, about 17th on the grid. So looking forward to seeing him down there, and hopefully he can keep it on all 4 wheels. But he's definitely one to watch, and I think it's only a matter of time he just starts winning more races for sure. But as you said, what a weekend for Trav Robinson and Paul Curry. Emotional win. Obviously, Bo last year, first competitive outing in the new Mason, and you're a lot more mechanically sounded than me, but it doesn't take much to go wrong. And fresh out of the, I know he's done a bit of testing in the States before they brought it over, but I think all the pressure's off now for Trav, and I think he could definitely go on and win a couple more this year, I reckon.
I'd hate to see him once he knows how to drive, but no.
Yeah. Once he gets a bit accustomed to it. Also, just talking to Darren, he mentioned that he's going to keep the Gymco and he's going to sort of work out what suits each track. So he's going to have a 2-car stable, which is out of this world. But anyway, good luck to him. We also mentioned Boston in third. Michael Zacher crossed for back-to-back finishes in his King Shocks Gymco. Obviously, he's got a big heritage there with the Zacher family over there in Gundy. And
I've seen some in-car footage of him going down the Finke, and he was having a good crack too.
And it really rode well, didn't it? It was probably by far the nicest looking car across those whoops outside of the trucks. And another one I know you talked about before, Johnny Towers. And we've sort of seen him across New South Wales growing up, but he's taken on the big boys at Finke and he's pushed them all the way. And
I'm pretty sure he was in fourth or fifth from prologue all the way down, all the way back.
Fifth, I think. I think he crossed fourth after Geddes had that accident. But that's a huge effort. And a home-built car.
Yeah, and man, I've seen a bit of footage of him. He was pedaling.
He was tapped out, wasn't he? Things can go terrible. But he's such a good driver, though. He's always been a smooth criminal on the track. And
just on the gas, too. Like, to be that high up in a pro light, like, that's testament to him.
He tried a couple of years with the twin turbo, and now he's gone back to the naturally aspirated pro light and by far dominated that field. Jared Percival and Royden Bailey both had big runs, and Andy Brown was brilliant once again in seventh. And two former champs, Hayden Bentley and Mark Burrows, round out the top 10. Class winners, Jerry Coop, Kane Jones in his Polaris Pro R was after a blinding run into Alice. Rossi Newman on debut, Brad and Adam Lovell, who made 3 production four-wheel drive titles in his Ranger, and Paul Tinger dominated the Sportlight class. Did you keep an eye on that Lovell and Pickering battle in the two Fords? Like, that's a tough. Everyone's saying how tough it was, but to go down there and in a Ford Ranger, I know they're well built out the production vehicles now.
Should be hard going. I remember that year we went down to where'd we camp? I think we camped at Mount Squires. And we went down the actual track in an old Troopy. Like, I know it's completely different, but man, it was rough.
Yeah.
Like, so full credit to him doing it in a production four-wheel drive.
And Jeff Pickering, I think, is around that 81, 82 now years of age, so he's doing well, the old fella. Good on you, Jeff. Fortunately, no reports of any serious injuries, but there were some huge incidents at Finke 2025. Arguably no bigger than Mick Maher's acrobatic launch heading out to Apachula in his Tisco trophy truck, but a testament to the build that no one was hurt in that one. That was huge. It went viral pretty quick.
That was all over the news too, wasn't it?
It was all over the national news, and sort of it puts it in perspective when someone has an incident like that. It gets more attention than Travis Robinson winning the race. Or, which you can see reasons why that happens, but
both walked away safely.
Which is a good thing. And by look, they walked around after it with his camera, and it didn't look like a bit of panel damage and a few cracked bars here and there, but overall they were safe and knocked around a little bit, but I think they were fine.
They were fine when it happened.
Billy Geddes had a big moment also in the Comiskey Tisco, so shout out to those guys. Billy always leaves it out there. Other notables not to finish included Smoothie, who didn't start the final day. I think he went down in, was he around 5th, I think? 5th or 6th, behind Johnny Towers. He was in Zacher, so didn't have the best of runs down there. And I actually don't know the issue he had on that final day, but we saw him on the start line on the live stream.
It might have been power steering pump or something like that they were talking about,
Josh House's bad luck continues. Matty Hansen had a bit of an incident heading down, so he had to withdraw overnight as well. Cooper Weston was well on track in the rush buggy. Would have been good to see young Cooper in the top 10, but he had to settle for a DNF, unfortunately. I think he did power steering. It seems to be a common occurrence with those big, especially the bigger cars. Glen Ackroyd, and I think he got into second on the road in his new Can-Am Maverick R, and I think he had some rear shock issues, blow shock, so that put him out. Glenn Brinkman also had some suspension setup issues. Denny Brown, I think, did an axle. Ryan Taylor, believe a gearbox in the Tatum heading down. Kai Camilleri, I think it was power steering as well. Nick Commons had a bit of a moment. Kemp Battle, Nick Hicks, and Brad Gallard dusted an engine. So many big names. Like, you could put all the DNFs in a pile and have like a replicharge. It would have been always a quality field.
it's out of control. Like, there's 10 people there that could have easily won the race too.
Definitely. Early in the week, I was lucky enough to catch up with two-time former Australian off-road champion Darren Wells and side-by-side victor Kane Jones to wrap up Finke 25. Enjoy. Once again, it's great to welcome two-time Australian off-road champion Darren Wells to the show. How are you, Wellsy?
Very good, Toby. Thanks for having me on again.
No worries. Finke 25, what a weekend, mate. There's lots of talk before the event that it's going to be suited to the trucks and how rough it was, and that's exactly what transpired with a truck podium. What was your takeaway?
Well, yeah, it certainly was, and of course, the wind up before the Finke that we did, you and I, and you asked me who was going to win, and I said the Robinson boys would be first and second, and of course, that's what happened. My third place, I think I picked Danny Brown, but he let me down with a broken axle. He had a bad prologue. Didn't really perform the weekend, young Danny. He was off it all weekend. And, wasn't it a race, though? The boys, I've spoken to all the boys down in Victoria here that raced at the Finke, and they said, honestly, it was probably the roughest one that they've ever done. Yeah. And really didn't suit the buggies at all. The trucks were, outsmarted all the buggies. Geez, they were going real hard. And, of course, what about that drive from young Boston Horan? Oh. Gee whiz. I've seen a lot of footage of a guy driving before, but he only knows one pace, and that's flat out.
Incredible.
It was certainly exciting to watch. I think they posted the fastest time back in that truck, and he was on it the whole way back. And he caught up to Billy Geddes. I believe he was in Billy Geddes' dust until he binned it into the trees. And he certainly put on a show for the people that were there on the weekend.
He did. How good was Mickey Zacker's drive again in his V8 gym car? I mean, that's back-to-back fourth outright finishes. I know you're pretty impressed with his weekend.
Oh, 2 in a row. Gee whiz. That was 2 years in a row. Michael Zacher he's really impressed me, actually. He hasn't really done much in any other races that I've been to, I had to laugh at the end. The navigator told me I had to slow him up. Gee whiz, imagine if you didn't have that navigator in with him. He would have been electric to watch.
I think he had some...
But no, he certainly had a good result. Young Michael Zacher, look, really, he deserves it. He put a big effort in buying that car from the States. I know when he bought it, he only had it here for 5 minutes, and then he binned it at Canowindra, and that was so disappointing to see that car when it was damaged like that. He fixed it back up. He showed us 2 years ago at the Finke how good it was. It was a fantastic drive, and then we spoke about him only the other week before this event, and he certainly come in fourth on the road again. First buggy home. Great drive.
Another one to note was Johnny Towers, the first of the Prolite buggies across the line from the Hunter Valley home-built car. He was some of the in-car of him.
No one could believe it. No one could believe that drive of Johnny Towers. Mm. He's been around, the Towers family been around off-roading as long as I have been. Yeah. But that car, when you look at it, it's not big and long in the wheelbase. It's only a short car. Well, as off-road desert cars go now. But, by geez, he drove the wheels off it. I couldn't believe how quick it was on the way down to the other end. Well, I think just fantastic drive.
Unbelievable. 2 former champs, Hayden Bentley and Mark Burrows. I know a couple of guys you've competed against over the years, finishing 9th and 10th. They would have been pretty happy with their weekend.
Oh, they certainly were. Yeah, Hayden was. He got there. All he wanted to do was get down and get back again because he's had such a bad 3 years with that truck. Not even getting to the events, it's blown it up on the dyno every time. And he certainly, I think Hayden was more impressed with young Hannah's drive than his own. Yeah. He was so pleased at the end of the race for his daughter, who did a fantastic job. Mm. And, of course, poor old Sam Bentley in the Class 10, he had a huge accident, and he really binned that Class 10 car. So that'll take a fair bit of fixing. But I must say, Hannah drove extremely well. I was very, very impressed with her drive. And Hayden drove well. But Mark Burrows, I think we spoke last time. I said he'll come home in the top 10 somewhere, and he did. Yeah. And, of course, Mark had a delaminated rear tyre, the same as Boston Horan had, a delaminated rear tyre. Mark pulled off the track to change it, and unfortunately, where he pulled off to change it, the car fell off the jack. So he lost a lot of time changing the tyre. That's why I think Mark's time on the way down was somewhere around 2 hours and 6 or something. But he told me the other night he was really impressed with the new car now on the King Shockers. It seems like the cars that handled well, which we saw on the weekend, were both Michael Zacker's car and Mark Burrows' on the King Shocks.
Yeah,
did very well.
The side-by-side battle was fierce, like always, but there was a bit of an unknown, Kane Jones, in his Polaris Pro R that stood atop of the podium there over Jeff McNiven, who's won the last couple, and the ever-consistent Greg Campbell.
Well, yeah, where did he come from? He come out of the clouds. I've never heard of him. He did extremely well. The thing he drove it down and drove it back, and he's done a great job, especially to beat the Campbells and McNivens. Gee whiz, because those guys, I think we said it the other week there that both those guys would be up in the top 3 or 4. Yeah. And no, they did extremely well. But I just couldn't imagine being in one of those side-by-sides at the Finke Desert Race with the track being so rough. It'd be like being in a washing machine all the way down there, I would have thought. But they're handling pretty well, those new ones.
And old Jeff Pickering, he runs second behind the Lovels, the Americans, in the Ford Range. Jeff ticked off another Finke finish.
He certainly has. Has he ever DNF'd there? I don't think he has.
Well, he might have had a couple, but not many.
Did a great job. But he would have slept like a baby that night after that. But no, he's done a great job, Jeff.
He must have been pretty stoked with the result because old Bernard had him the second or third entry into Loveday, so he's going for another bruising down there in South Australia in a few weeks. We've seen some big, huge crashes in the off-road scene over the past couple of decades, but Lordy, there were some big ones at Finke this year, mate.
And he said he stood up in the back of his truck when he loaded it after the race, and he said it looked like Hiroshima, the pits. He said there was some damaged cars in that pits. And no bigger was, of course, the accidents that we saw with Mick Mayer in the truck, and also Josh Ferguson went in the same spot, and so did Sam Bentley, all in the same hole. I think Josh Ferguson's car was the worst that I saw, the Jimco that he bought off Brad Chasemore. And I really did feel sorry for those guys because, yes, he did endo it. That's what happened. He went over that jump and endoed it, but landed on its wheels. He was trying to restart it, and then another truck came over the hill very fast and hit him in the back, tore the whole engine, gearbox, and the whole back off that Jimco.
Yeah.
So that's a big fix. That's a big fix.
Yes. Not good to see. Any other comments on Finke 25, mate? There was a lot of notables that didn't make the finish. Just a tough event like usual.
Well, it always is. And, this year it did wreck a lot of cars. Of course, next year it's the 50th. There'll be a lot of people going to run the 50th. It's been rumoured around it's going to be the last one for the cars, but I don't know whether it will be, but the 50th race will drag them all back. I won't tell you how many people told me that's the last time I'm going to the Finke Worldie, but you know what? Next year we'll see their name on the entry because they'll be there and having another crack at it. It's just it's a tough event, and everybody would love to get their name on that trophy. And you know what? To see Trav Robinson win, we all talk about all these other guys that, the Boston Horans and the Michael Zackers that did drive extremely well on the weekend there. Hey, the bloke that's holding the trophy is Trav Robinson. And fantastic effort, I reckon.
100%.
He's that new four-wheel drive truck, that Mason truck, ran faultlessly all the way down. And, of course, the rear guard was Bo, and Bo wouldn't have let anybody past him.
Never going to happen.
No, it wasn't going to happen, mate. And it's great to see that both those boys now have both won the Finke. And, of course, Travis has won the Australian Championship too. So, it's good. They're all the results that they should have got when their father was around.
That's right. Amen to that. Just quickly before we go, Wellsy, ARB Australian Championship Round 2 at Waikerie next weekend. You got an early tip?
Well, early tip. Geez, you put me on the spot there. No, look, I am actually going over to Waikerie for the weekend for 4 days, so we might catch up after next weekend, and I'll tell you all about it, mate.
Sounds good, mate. I think I'd like to see Brent Martin return to the Winners' Circle. I think he's got a big chance at Waikerie, an event he's liked in the past, and yeah, it'll be very interesting. Thanks again for joining me, Weldy, to wrap up Think 25, and we'll talk soon, mate.
We certainly will. Just a little bit on that. I was up at Dean Williams' the other day, and Brent Martin's car was up there, and he's put another engine in it. He's gone back to the 3.5 litre. He's given that 4.5 away. Yeah. So he's going back to what won him all the championships. So look out at Waikerie. So I think Brent will be up the pointy end.
Yeah, sounds good. Cheers again, mate, and have a good weekend at Waikerie, and we'll catch up soon. It's a pleasure to welcome on the Frogs Hollow TV for the very first time recent Think side-by-side champion Kane Jones. How are you, mate?
Very well, thanks, mate. Yourself?
Good. A bit cool up here. What's it like down there? You're down in Canberra this week.
Yeah, mate, we've had a few -4s, -5s, so it's a bit of a shock to the system.
Firstly, congratulations on your win a couple of weekends ago up there in Alice Springs. You must be still over the moon with the result.
Mate, yeah, it still hasn't truly set in, to be honest with you. We'd never had a proper finish in our time of 5 years in a side-by-side, and to sort of come up and play with the big boys, so to speak, has been a pretty unreal experience.
And tell us a bit about your run down, your 4th quickest down, and then, the quickest car by a little bit coming home, which was enough to get you the win. But, yeah, tell us how it panned out.
Mate, we're pretty easy on it on the Sunday morning. Just sort of double judged our own abilities and the car abilities straight off the line. Got past pretty well before deep well there, and then we understood that the vehicle sort of was going to do what we asked it to do. So we overtook that other side-by-side and sort of just started plugging away at it and getting to learn the vehicle. We hadn't actually driven the car for 6 months, so yeah, it was sort of a bit of a learning curve there. Had a couple of offs, pretty safe ones, which was a bonus. Just sort of learnt that the vehicle wasn't capable of a couple of things we asked of it.
Yeah, no, mate, it was great to watch you come home. It was opened a lot of eyes. For those that don't know you, Kane, I mean, I was talking to Darren Wells last night, and you sort of come out of the blue for him. He's obviously a 2-time former Australian off-road champion. Tell us a bit about yourself and how you sort of got into the off-road scene.
Got stitched up by my old navigator, Justin Thompson. He was right into the four-wheel drive sort of stuff, and I started building cars for other people. Had a bit of fabrication skill there, and cages and arms and stuff like that, and then sort of got to meet a lot of people in the industry, and a lot of friends of mine were racing at the time, and enjoyed the family aspect of it, and not so political, which was a beautiful thing. So I sort of saved the pennies up and figured I could come and play the game in the side-by-side, and sort of have done now. It took us a little bit to learn the platforms because coming from a road car background in the past, it's a totally different game, this one, and a lot more skill than a sort of structured track setting that I was used to prior to this.
100%. In your car, you got the Polaris. It's the first time, I think, since Peter Carr in, I think it was 2016, that Polaris stood atop the dial there in the side-by-side class, and it's been a long time coming. When did you sort of know that you had the victory?
Yeah, we didn't actually make it past McNiven. We didn't realise that we'd sort of caught that far up in the field on the Monday until we came into the stadium. And navigator Jeremy Campston said, listen, Jeff's right there. And basically, as we came into the stadium, I think he was coming over the line. Mm-hmm. I didn't even look up off the track to see him come over the line. I was sort of just, we've got to be smart in this last sort of few hundred yards here. Yeah. And came over. Wasn't until we pulled into the line with the rest of the vehicles that our crew was sitting off to the left there, and we're holding the number one finger up, and I was like, well, mate, I think we might have this. Mm. And then, yeah, obviously it all panned out from that point, but definitely a surreal experience to pull in sort of the top 14, 15 vehicles there and being a little side-by-side and there's millions of dollars worth of cars sitting there in front of you, it's a pretty big feat. The platform itself is incredible. Like this, I can't find the limit of the vehicle, and I think I definitely tried to find that. And told me I couldn't do a couple of things, but like honestly, where we were in the past, we would have blown wheels and arms off vehicles, and this car the Pro R just soaks it up. It basically laughs at you as a driver, which is incredible.
Because we were saying Jackson Evans had some success the last couple of years. Obviously, his father, Simon, as well. And you talk to those guys?
Mate, have a lot to do with the Evans family. They've definitely supported myself and the crew throughout this journey, which has been a pretty cool thing. Being sort of the only teams running at Polaris, it's really handy to be able to bounce off each other with, hey, we've had this, or this is what we've learned here. Was actually just talking to Jackson yesterday about the up-and-coming event at Loveday, and bit of a strategy there for the vehicles themselves.
Yeah, so that was actually one of my final questions. Loveday 400, the third middle part of the ORC for 2025. You're heading up there for that one?
100%. The Wheatleys throw a great event. Been lucky enough to meet the family fairly regularly over the years, and went out and viewed the track a couple of years ago. Never raced there, so that'll be a bit of an experience. Talking to other drivers, they tend to love the track itself. So hopefully we enjoy it too. We'll see if we can sort of back it up. Obviously, Finke was a big thing for us, and if we can continue on the same realm, it'll be a beautiful thing. But I mean, you've got to be smart about it too. There's some pretty serious drivers out there, and the calibre of vehicle has stepped up a lot in the last 5 years, especially.
Couldn't agree more, Kane. Once again, thanks for joining us on Frogs Hollow TV. Congrats again on your win at Finke recently, and all the best to you and the team for the remainder of 2025.
Thanks heaps, mate. You have a great day.
Thanks again to Darren and Kane for joining us on this episode, and all the best to you, Kane, for the rest of the season. The King's birthday long weekend in June also played host to the Camels Capers Nandaly 300, hosted by the Sea Lake Off-Road Club. Round 4, the new Southern States Off-Road Club Challenge, 53 starters with 21 completing the full 5 60-kilometre laps. By reports, George, farmland terrain was treated to some rain Saturday afternoon, which left the track perfect on Sunday, in very cold and windy conditions. But it was South Australians Brendan Payne and David Munn who took a breakthrough victory in their V8 Southern Cross. The old Southern Cross is still going nicely.
Yeah, still up there.
Still winning races, which is, in today's world, it's great to see. Like our Aussie-made vehicles. Bobby Strawbridge will be proud down there in SA. So congratulations to Brendan Payne. Mildura's Robert Plant, Rob's got the Terry's
Jimco Terry's,
Jimco 2000. So, got his first finish in some time, crossing second in the 3.5 litre Jimco with Glen Pike, he's always thereabouts. He's in that V8 powered Razorback. He finished third, just 20 seconds behind. Class 4 veteran Peter Simpson continued his nice 2025 season, and David Middlemas rounded out the top 5 outright there at Nandaly. Rhett Standen, Darren Franklin, Brock Pendlebury, Michael Hackney were other class winners. Notables not to finish included Darren Isendale, Standen, Gary Turnbull, Evan Lampard, Heath Whedon, and overnight leader Jason Richards. One of those races you always like to get down. It's the same weekend as obviously the iconic Sea Lake Mallee Rally was held over the King's birthday long weekend. I don't think that's any closer to being on the table moving forward, but It's good to see Sea Lake, Darren Mott and his Mott family, and the Baileys and all that down there at Sea Lake putting on a race for the people, and it sort of corresponds to what we're sort of always been about here at Warrialta. Not the biggest event sort of in the country, especially the Nandaly 300, but you go to the town and put your money behind the township and just sort of rises it up for a weekend, and that's what it's all about.
Brings the money into the town, brings it into the smaller communities, what they need, eh?
Yeah.
It's good.
So, shout out to all those that competed and successfully finished at Nandaly. Now on to our final review of the show, the recent ARB Ben Cubbin event in Western Australia. And again, what a performance from Adam Trewhella, who roared away with a 16-minute victory, his third win of the season. Yeah, so he just goes from strength to strength, and can't really see him getting beat at the next round either, unless mechanical guys have something to say about it. And again, a better insight into the Ben Cubbin event that just was. We're joined by no other than Russ Cullen. Take a listen.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Frogs Hollow TV, and what a stellar job our good friend Toby Cooper is doing with the program, and going from strength to strength. Well done, Toby. Ben Cubbin held over here in the west on the long weekend. What an event that was. We had massive delays with fog. We had rain. We had all sorts of shenanigans up and down the field. Great event in the end. Our good friend Adam Trewhella just drove away with it. He, I think in the first half hour of that event commencing, I think he was practicing his speech, his victory speech. So well done to Adam. Done a really good job all weekend. Also, Chris Unstead and Craig Moss. Craig Moss starting to hit his straps. Craig's done a lot of super light stuff, so he's not new to the car, but he's new to the state series. He's sort of making a bit of a comeback, so well done, Craig. Excellent effort, mate. Yeah, wow, what an event. The rain kicked in bad. The fog was horrendous. We had hours of delays on the Saturday. Lots of shenanigans, as I said, up and down the field. Mark Kramer went out late in his session. Did a CV from memory. Had an issue with a CV that would look like it wasn't going to last a lap. So Mark repaired that. He was doing really well. He was looking like a safe third outright, fourth outright. Things went pretty south for Mark, and he fought back. Him and Jay Jankowski fought back, and they got themselves into, I think, fifth position outright. So that was great. Keithy Rance, he looked like he was on a number, but unfortunately for Keith, he broke an axle. And there's a great story behind this. Keith found an axle that was too long. I don't know where he got it from. So thanks and big ups to whoever lent him the axle. But the axle was too long, so Keith had to cut it down with a grinder and then cut his own circlet groove into it. So great effort for Keithy Rance. So that just shows how determined Keith is, because I think even Keithy would admit in the past he probably would have just parked her up and had a few beers and socialised for the rest of the weekend, especially at a great venue that is Ben Cubbin. Aaron Cassidy hit a tree, folded all the front of the car in, busted radiator, all the things that go with hitting a tree, but he managed to borrow a radiator off the juniors, and the PWR radiator worth $3,000, a bit of a shock to him when he found out the price of it. But anyway, first in the production four-wheel drives for the Jones boys, and they are fantastic kids. Like Simon Jones, mate, you've raised them. They are just the most beautiful young men, great kids, so polite, and I really, really hope they continue on in the sport, because they are just going to be an absolute asset in future years. Max Bradley got the chocolates, won the class in Class 8, so well done to Max. Fought back really well. Another member of the junior team, Lyndon House and Daniel Fluffy Fay, had a flat tyre. The jack was faulty. They had all sorts of wretched luck trying to change the tyre. They had to drive down the track and find a car with a broken down car with a jack they could use. So they fought back well, and they got a first in class in the Class 5, so well done to those guys. Anyway, look, it was a great event. I've probably missed out a few honourable mentions there. One man that did really well is Mick Davis, the Magic Man Pro Light. He won the Pro Light section, so that was tremendous to see Mick getting a good result. And another mention, I will throw it out there, Wayne Batson. Looks like he's starting to hit his straps. Had a DNF on the weekend overall, but with the tuition that he's getting from young Matty Beck, looks like his program will go from strength to strength. So that's excellent for Wayne. Look, great weekend, really well run event. The Clark, of course, Dieter von Mollendorf handled things terrifically with the fog rolling in and kept us all safe and made the key decisions when he needed to make them. And it was just an awesome event. And Ben Cubbin's always a lot of fun, and this was no exception. It was great.
Now onto our only event preview on this week's episode, the Gap 150, hosted by the Griffith Off-Road Club at Mac Tocton. Been there the last few years for the Gap 440, which has been the second round of the ARB Australian Championship.
Yep.
Due to a number of reasons, they've just sort of sat out for the year. Wakeree's taken over that round. But great to see the McGinleys, the Standons, Carl Power and his family. It's a great knit of people down there, and they've pulled off the Gap 150, which is, I think they've got around a 22-kilometre circuit down there through farmland sort of terrain again. With around, I think, about 21 entries this weekend. It's just on Saturday. So names to watch include local heroes Jason Richards, Jay Mitchell in the ex-Mel Brandel Lumicraft, the Australian Championship winning car from last year. So he'll be one to watch. Dale and Rhett Stanton, Carl Power, Jeremy Horn and Glennie Collis, who's back on the track. Both Mendham cars were there. Dave and
Alex are going.
They've entered, so they were going to back up from Millbrow last weekend, head down there for a run. Alex probably will be going pretty well down there, and I'll trust the old Dave. He'll just circulate.
Yeah,
he'll sneak up on him.
He'll be there on Sunday.
Likewise, Darren Mott, Paul Grant's first run of the year, and Mildura's Paul Walsh. I think Jason Richards, by far the standout speed there in that field. I expect on home soil. We had a good run at Millbrow last weekend. Doing a lot of races this year, Jason Richards, and he is a standout talent in the pro light class, but I think he's...
Dizzy steers too, mate.
Dizzy steers. We've seen him here at Royale the last couple of years. I think he finished 2 seconds behind Bryce Chapman at Gundy about 6 or 7 years ago. That was an epic event. But, hats off to the Griff Off-Road Club. It's great to see, even though they've sort of handed over the ARB round for the season, they've sort of moved forward, and they'll host a great weekend coming up. Next weekend is also round 2 of both the ARB Australian Championship at Waikerie and round 2 of the Motorsport Australia Queensland Championship over at Inglewood for the Zooms Cup. Try and head over there for a look. I'm not exactly sure. I know Waikerie got around that 60, 65 entries. That'll be an epic down there, but wouldn't mind heading over to Zooms Cup and checking out.
Having a look, mate. Yeah, I think. You'd think the Naps and Snido and all that'll be probably going.
They should get a decent field. I think few of the top side by side. I think Zach Marsh is heading over, Richard Tassin, a few of the guys from sort of Mackay coming down the Slitco cars. So
I think they had 40-odd cars last year.
Yeah, they did, so I expect them to get around that 25 to 35, I'd say, but time will tell. So that's a wrap on tonight's show. Massive thanks again for Geordie on joining me on the set. It's going to be a great addition moving forward, mate, so thank you. Good luck and safe racing to all those competing at Mactocton this weekend. And more importantly, stay tuned for the next episode of Frogs Hollow TV. Cheerio.